Welcome to the Softland Central podcast, your home for market entry knowledge and resources. Softland Central is brought to you by Softland Partners, an online marketplace to help you find best fit resources for your market entry. Find them at softlandpartners.com. Hi, welcome. My name is Bill Kenny, and this is our next episode of Softland Central. We're the hub of market entry knowledge and connection. So today it's our great pleasure to welcome Peter Hoffmann, who is the Network Development Director at the PwC Accelerator Hub in Luxembourg. Welcome, Peter.
Welcome, Bill. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And and thank you so much for joining us on a holiday as well. This is a real privilege.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and so just to introduce our audience, we have listeners from all over the world who are both in the industry of internationalization and market entry, so people who are trade and investment professionals, also some service providers, and then of course many market entry companies that are going between from Russia to Europe, from the U.S. to Asia or wherever, and so the conversation we're going to have, really, we want to make sure is aligned with helping get them sort of relevant information. So to get into that, obviously we need to know a little bit about you so that people have a context of your comments and all that. So can you tell us certainly a little bit about yourself and also about the PwC Accelerator in Luxembourg as well?
Of course I will do.
Yeah.
I'm director at PwC's Accelerator Central Hub in Luxembourg, a small country with a huge global impact. So, and my specific role in this accelerator work is I'm responsible for business and export acceleration program, the setup of this kind of program, with the key focus of international B2B SMEs to support them in their quest to go global, to prepare them, to analyze them, to see their capabilities, their ability to go global. And this is my key point, and I'm assisting companies in the B2B sector on CEO level since more than 1 decade to help them to enter new markets. It's in Europe, it's in Asia, or somewhere else in the world. PwC's accelerator, accelerator is a common word, and you never know what is incubator, what is an accelerator.
Right.
There's a huge difference in PwC accelerator compared to others. We do not take any shares. We do not have some direct, intakes. We do not offer co-working space. No, we don't do this. But what we are doing? We are mainly focused on to support the public sector, export agencies, government, regions to set up business and acceleration programs to help companies to develop step by step, to develop their international growth plan, step by step, to be at the end ready to go international. That's our main focus.
And so in what you're doing, are there certain regions of the world that you're focused on in terms of helping companies? Yes. With the Luxembourg Hub?
In general, there is no limit in regions. But, if you come to the track record, let's say, or our main focus today, PwC's Accelerator is running on behalf of the European Commission a program that is called EU Gateway Business Avenues to Asia. This program started in 2016 over a period of 5 years to bring 2,700 European Union-based companies, SMEs, across 9 industries, 9 business sectors, to 9 countries to Asia. In 56 business missions. In the past, of course, now we have another situation in physical business missions to bring them to Asia. I will report more, I will go more in detail in our talk, how we do that later on. So this is our focus, Europe to Asia. It was the beginning. Personally, I worked a certain time, almost 1 year in the Middle East, to help Middle East, it was in the United Arab Emirates, to help companies based in these countries to enter the world, and also to help other companies to settle down in the UAE. I did the same in Sri Lanka for my person, and now since 1.5 years, I'm working in Russia to support together with organizations like Russian Export Center or Moscow Export Center to help on specific sectors, their SMEs, to go global, to Europe or to Asia. This is more or less, in a nutshell, the regions we are today focusing on.
And just one more sort of base question on the accelerator. So as you mentioned, most people think of accelerators as sort of 12 or 16-week programs, and they have a beginning and an end, and equity is taken. Sure. In your context, in the PwC Accelerator Hub context, if I understand it right, it's more about individualizing the support for the company as opposed to sort of going through as a cohort. Is that correct? It's really focused on each individual company. And
not really, Bill. Not really, Bill.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, not really. Our client is not directly the one-to-one SME, the single SME.
Got it.
Our client is the public sector, being supported by us to set up programs, business acceleration to prepare companies to go international, or export acceleration to go international, and this is what we brought in as a new generation of export models, a sectorial and scalable process. That means we will take, let's say, in this EU Gateway Business Avenue program, we have a mission, we call it HMT, Healthcare and Medical Technologies. We are identifying and selecting out of 3,000 companies around the 50 best in this technology in Europe. And then we prepare them one-to-one. So these are the beneficiaries, but not our clients. The beneficiaries are the SMEs. We are preparing them, we are coaching them one by one to go successfully into the Asian markets.
Yep.
That's our point.
But your customer...
Our client is the public sector, the city, a region, a federal organization. The beneficiary is the SME.
Got it.
But a sectorial and scalable approach, because we made an experience when we launched the accelerator program. If we support one single company and would like to go with them to Asia, you do not create a momentum. You know, you're coming with one company and they would like to meet 20, 30 CEOs in China or wherever in the world. You know, if you come with one, it has not the impact if you come instead with 50. Then they say, 50 selected, the best from Europe in my technology. There must be minimum 1, 2, 3 that fit absolutely in my value chain. And no, then they wake up and they see, oh, I'm interested to meet them. Where are they? And this is the effect, the impact we are creating with a scalable sectorial approach.
It makes tons of sense. Absolutely. Yeah. So you've had a ton of experience in seeing market entry companies, and I would imagine there's an incredible continuum from the really strong ones that sort of do it right, figure it out well, and the ones that maybe have more challenges. But if we can, it would be really nice to shift gears to talk about the most common market entry mistakes that you've seen. As you think about that, what are some of the highlights in terms of the common mistakes that you see?
Sure, but Bill, allow me to start with the challenges they have.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
because a challenge leads to a mistake sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
So what we see, and believe me, it's all over the world, has nothing to do, it's the same for Europe, it's the same for Asia, it's the same for the Arabic world.
Sure.
There are two particular obstacles I would like to divide in two parts. Internal barriers and external barriers. The internal barriers, the key point of internal barriers is that the traditional SME with local footprint has definitively a lack of managerial times. The manager, the CEO, they don't have the time to think about and to identify and to analyze foreign markets, opportunities, who to connect with, and so on. And in their teams, they do not have the skills and the knowledge. This is a key point. And you also have to see another thing. It's really time consuming to identify and select export markets and to implement successful marketing strategies. And even, you know, we are 27 member states here in the European Union. And it's even a challenge sometimes for some to go, and if I have a good golf fit, I would be in France here. No? But the business culture in France, for example, is different from the business culture in Germany. And now imagine you are doing business in Asia in a total different time zone, in a total different cultural zone, and you cannot just cross the border like here in 5 kilometers to see your business partners. You really have to prepare that. Let me call this as a internal barriers. Yeah. And then, of course, you have the external barriers. This is definitively money. Sometime or somehow you have to finance your internationalization strategy. Huh? This is the key point. Then, unfortunately, you very often have a lack of adequate public support. That does not directly mean that there is no public support, but we see sometimes a lot of fragmentation, of overlap of services, of a lack of coordination in the supporting schemes. And as an SME, as I said, with not too much time, you have to navigate in this jungle of supporting systems. Sometimes for one service, you have to apply here. For the other service, you have to apply here. And this does not really work. And then you clearly have a lack of market intelligence about market opportunities in foreign countries for your sector or your subsector. And you also have difficulties in contacting and networking potential customers and potential business partners or distributors, because you don't know them. Are they reliable? You know what I mean? Yeah. This is really a challenge of what you have. And what we have seen out of experience in this Business Avenue program and with Russia, but also in the UAE, you also have to handle certificates for your products. You know, in Europe, you have a huge advantage. I will follow up on that later on. A huge advantage that you have EU regulation and certification. If you have the certification for one of the 27 member states, you have the certification for all of the 27 member states because it's regulated all over the market. But if you go to another market as Japan or China or Russia, in the food sector, in critical sectors, then you really need to fit the regulations there. And you have no clue how it works and who can support you in that. And then, of course, you have the cultural differences and the often overwhelming bureaucratic way. These are the internal and external challenges. And even if you are aware of these challenges, what we see, companies starting with internationalization or being on the way to get prepared for that are doing a lot of mistakes. The first mistake is not to address this kind of challenges. And the second one is you have to understand that going international, doing business abroad, Bill, this is definitively, you know it as I know it, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a marathon. Oh, you agree?
Maybe a triathlon.
Yeah, maybe a triathlon. Absolutely, absolutely. And in this, let's say triathlon, that's a good point. I will put it in my presentation. In this way, what I see, the big mistake companies are doing, and this is not for the small ones, often even for the more matured ones, is preparation. And that's clearly how to prepare my sales pitch. The sales pitch. You know, if you meet, as we met together and we introduced ourselves, we were able, I hope so, Bill, I don't know, but I'm here in the interview, and so I think it was quite successful. We are able to explain in an elevator pitch or in 5 minutes what we are doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm very often surprised that companies are really struggling to explain what they're doing and what is the added value. And so I see the key point, 3 key points: prepare, prepare, prepare. Yeah? So, but what to prepare?
I'll actually interject a funny story. So we actually a few years back had a company called Test My Pitch. It was an online platform that helped people draft and practice pitching and get feedback from people in their community. So these were closed portals for everything from accelerators and incubators to some schools actually adopted it as well. And I can echo your point, and we had a fair amount of international adoption. So in mostly in the U.S., but it really didn't matter where people were from. In general, they were terrible at giving their value proposition. Or
thanks for that. Thanks for that.
It was a borderless problem. You know, it's pretty equal. And it was funny. We would at times be working with companies where there were 20-year employees, you know, where people had been in the company for 20 years. They were not any better than the person that started 3 months ago in terms of describing the value proposition in 10 seconds or 15
Maybe
seconds.
worse.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, because they make it too complicated. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you have a technical guy on the opposite.
Oh, technical makes it 10 times worse. Yeah. Because you start talking about the product instead of the problem or what can be solved. Yeah.
That's exactly the point to come to my next point.
Good segue.
Yeah, thanks. The problem.
Yeah.
You know, for me, and this is also a point we are really highlighting in all our programs, even if it's business or export acceleration. We are CEOs and we are in the discussions, and I tell them, start in a few sentences with the problem you are addressing. 2 sentences. No? Your counterpart will understand it. This is the problem of your industry. This is the problem. Then come with the solution in your simplest way. Then explain why you are, or explain your USP. Why are you the guy your customer, your prospect should buy the product or the service from? Because it depends on the market. I will come back for the European Union. You may have a lot of competitors. Why should they not rely on a local competitor and buying from a company coming from the US or from Europe? Explain, describe your competition, know your market, know your competitors, describe your USP in relation to your competition. Then show your track record. Show clear your track record. Tell a customer story. Back your story by a real case. That's very important. Show, if you have the markets, we are talking about a 2-pager, Bill. Show your markets on a landscape where you are already doing business in. Get credibility and trust.
Yeah.
No? And show, of course, your certificates. Maybe you only have certificates for your local market. But if you are discussing with a distributor or you're discussing with an established producers, you can also jump in their value chain and they can take care for your certification in your target market. Huh? This a lot of people who are entering new markets don't understand this. They're only looking for distributors, but that's not necessarily the point. You can only jump in the value chain of a producer, addressing a producer by offering him to broaden its own product offering or service offering, whatever, with your product. Huh? And then he can take for that. He can take care for that. And what is also key in the two-pager, show pictures of your product. Visualize your product. This is a key point. And last but not least, highlight your team. Yeah? You're not alone. Yeah? You never walk alone. You have a team. You should have a team. Let's say this. You should have a team behind you. And you can have the best product. If you're not able to produce and to take care for after sales, it doesn't fly. Huh? And therefore show your team. And this is, you can really bring that on 2 pages max. This is your elevator pitch. And this you should be able to explain in 5 minutes or to show in 5 minutes. If you have, let's say, you know, from fairs and exhibitions, if somebody comes to your booth and you have to explain what you are doing and all these points are just enumerated, you should be able to explain.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, this is a key point. And what I see very often is that people, even they have it, they did not practice it before. You know, they do not feel familiar to present it. And if you sell or I sell something, or everybody who is selling something, the guy should feel familiar on what he's selling. Because if you or me are feeling not familiar what we are doing, the guy who should buy doesn't feel familiar, also doesn't feel familiar. And he's uncomfortable. Yeah? You know, you have to practice and redefine and to be sure and convinced what you are doing.
Yeah. And it's quite often, I guess, when we see that, it's sort of the difference between sort of conscious competence and unconscious competence, where you know, the first time you parked a car as you were learning how to drive, you had to think about every step of it, and that's very uncomfortable. You don't want to be a passenger in that car. But when you're today, for those of us that have been driving a long time, it's we don't have to think about parking, and it's a much smoother operation to go and park the car. And I think when it becomes unconscious competence, it's much more relatable. You've made it your own. It's smooth. It's simple, and it's effortless. And I think that's ultimately where it all. It's much easier to receive that. And when we think about pitches too, one of the things that we've the metaphors that we've kind of used with folks is think about baby food. So if you're thinking about, you know, if I'm giving you information, I want to give it to you as baby food. And baby food to a baby is simple. It's easy to digest. It tastes good. But I can take it in easily. And sort of the test for success that we often use will be, can the person that received it, can Peter, now that he's heard a little bit about what we do, in his next meeting actually tell somebody about the meeting he just had, and you know, have 80% of kind of what we intended sort of transfer to that next party. That, you know, that really becomes what you want, at least in some regard to how this works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is really a key point, and it's not, honestly, it's not so difficult. You know, normally a company ready to go global is ready to go global. That means they have a local footprint. They have their customers. They have their track record. Yeah. Just to bring it on 2 pages and to learn to transfer all this to your prospect.
Yeah. So I was going to say, let's talk about some of the other mistakes that you see. What else? What other mistakes do you see company making?
A huge mistake is also patience. You know, and this is quite interesting. Let's say I would go with one of our SMEs or with a cohort to the US, being on one of your exhibitions, and you organized it. And we are flying in, and my guys, they wouldn't expect, you know, we fly in, we will meet. Bill is organizing some meetings for us on an exhibition, and we are doing business. We are convincing them. Peter trained us perfectly on a sales pitch. We have a big deal and are flying out, and they will never see us. Forget it. But this attitude is very common. Fly in, make a deal, fly out. It's over. You have to build trust. And you have also to present in your communication strategy an after sales approach. Without after sales, forget it. And this is a key point. There's an expectation gap, let's say, that they think they're just flying in, being a little bit in the US or in the Middle East or in Russia, wherever in the world, and coming back with a big deal after a 15-minute conversation. Yeah, but you know it, obviously. Yeah,
What are they smoking?
Exactly. This is not how to do business in most parts of the world, I would say.
Well, and especially with both of our focus more in the B2B aspect. It's not transactional. It's much more strategic as we're having conversations with people. So yeah, no, if you're part of the supply chain, they have to be able to rely on you, and that trust isn't something that happens in 15 minutes, right?
That's the point. And we have today with COVID-19 another challenge, not a mistake, but a challenge that business will be different when we all come back and restart the business, hopefully soon. The global value chain, I assume, will change in some ways. So I think, for example, for Europe, that we will take back some production today outsourced to Asia, back to Europe in the, let's say, in the medicine and medical equipment production and some stuff. This world will change, and today you see it as we see it. You do not have any exhibitions, fairs. It will change more and more, and even if it's possible in the near future, I think there will be a change. That it will be first more virtual, more digital, more cost saving, less risky, before really flying to a new market and meeting people. That they check the appetite for your product and for your service before you're running in this market directly on ground. I think there will after COVID-19 there will be some changes in our business.
Yeah, well, certainly we're getting exposed to more tools, which is always good, right? I mean, in post-COVID, we can optimize how we use those tools for sure.
Yes, in the PwC Accelerator, we already, but we started. Good point. Already before COVID-19 crisis, to develop a digital trade platform where we can really matchmake companies from all over the world. But in our, what I told you before, Bill, in our sectorial and scalable approach, opening business missions first, virtual. Inviting, let's say, companies from Europe in green or clean technologies or in ICT, whatever, selecting them, bringing them on the platform with the sales pitch, coached with the sales pitch, reaching out to our network, let's say in Asia or in Russia or in the US, bringing partners, potential business partners, fitted to the matchmaking profiles of the European ones, also on the platform, and to start with an algorithm, the matching, and to check out the appetite to do business before. And then, if after COVID-19 crisis or however, they can also individually then reach out to these companies. But you need, for me, everybody has not everybody, but there are a lot of B2B platforms, but unstructured. Everybody can without any filter jump the platform. But it's not with a sectorial approach, and it's not with coaching, and it's not with Zoom or whatever, and it's not with you can jump in sectorial experts from the home or target market to discuss with a translator, and with all these features we are, for example, are implementing. We try now to develop after the new generation of business missions, as we did for the European Commission, the next generation of business missions, to bring all these physical success factors into a virtual platform.
That's so cool.
To restart, even to restart this kind of business, an immediate tool to restart international business faster, cheaper, and less risky. Let's say this.
And it seems like there are so many opportunities for that, for sure. And it just builds the need for more of a network and more partners and all that, I would imagine, as well. But are there, before we move on from it, I just want to make sure we don't leave anything out. Are there any other mistakes that you would want to highlight?
Not really. Okay. Let's say it's not only mistakes. There are the internal barriers, the external barriers. Today we have as a third challenge the COVID crisis. These are the challenges. This is already enough.
Yep.
And then you have the mistakes.
Yeah.
What I told you, and this is for me especially in the preparation, in the sales pitch, and in highlighting the value proposition of a company.
Yeah.
This is for me, it's round.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. So we don't want to spend all day talking about mistakes and challenges, right?
Sure.
How do we overcome them? What are some of the methodologies that you've learned to help companies navigate this process and become more market ready and more successful when they do get into a new market?
Okay, easily to go. But Bill, let's explain first our audience that normally we.
Sorry,
we agreed on. They are asking if I'm crazy by drinking a wine. We agreed on audience that I drink a wine and and Bill drinks a beer, but it was too early for Bill. I mean, late in the European time.
It's 5:30 in the afternoon for you, and 11:30 in the morning for me. I'm sorry. I'm weak. I probably am. I'm not a.
I'm not no, just to understand me, because we agreed on that.
I apologize.
Okay, no worries. Good. No. So as PwC's accelerator, but not only as the accelerator, across line of services, we developed approach split in 4 services. The key point is, and when maybe later we talk about the track record and success stories. The first pillar, was to develop a new methodology, a new generation of export programs that is a little bit different to traditional business missions by focusing, but it's physical. We are just speaking about physical business missions, but it is totally business opportunity driven. That means before we suggest the ICT sector to go somewhere else, we analyzed what is hot in the world for ICT today, in the context what European ICT companies are offering, products or services. So market intelligence. Market intelligence means market intelligence referred to business opportunities. So it's a business opportunity driven approach. We do not just go by default to a market because there's summer and the sun is shining. So business opportunity driven.
I would even call that demand centered. Right, but you're introducing technology where there is demand, or solutions where there is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
and it depends now on the let's stay in ICT. If you are supporting countries, home market countries that are maybe not directly on the state of the art technology, then of course you have to recommend them if they would like to go abroad to a market that is also not so matured and not so competitive.
Yeah.
And if you have really high level ICT companies, you can more easily go to a market with also in the competitive market, because then it's more easier to survive or to enter this market. So you also have to adapt the maturity of the products or of the technologies. This is a key point. So it's business opportunity driven. It's scalable and sectorial. That means I do not come with one company. I come with 50 or 30 or more to create a momentum. It's a key point. Awareness, a momentum, promotion. Promotion in this market is a very crucial point. Then speed. Time is of essence. Yeah, you know, as a CEO, you want to do business today and not in 2 years. So you need to offer something that is ready to help you. This is a key point. And also a very, very crucial factor is matchmaking. You know, in the traditional way, you have often business missions, sometimes with a mix of political aspects, going to a country. Before our companies, and later on I will provide you with some figures, before our companies go to a mission, let's say almost 50% of the meetings they will have in the target market are pre-arranged. They will know before who they will meet, when and where, and what is the content. Because about the digital matchmaking tool, they already know each other. And these are the success factors we developed for traditional physical business missions with, and this is the last success factor in this case, with a clear one-to-one coaching. What is per ICT subsector the business opportunity in your market? What are the do's and don'ts from a cultural perspective in this market? You know, you have some markets you have to respect some cultural aspects. That's a key point. And then also a key part of this, we call it pre-departure meeting, is that they are really coached one by one on the sales pitch. And they also have information on the regulatory status in the target market. So pillar one, traditional business mission, but a new generation of how we call it in business acceleration or expert acceleration. The second pillar we just developed and are now going to the market is the E-Trade Mission platform to put all these success factors, one-to-one coaching in a digital platform. With the highlight of this matchmaking platform by opening business missions on a sectorial basis to promote them, especially, of course, in the target market that you will find enough counterparts interested in to meet, in our way today, European companies in Asia. Yeah? And to check out the appetite before physical meeting, because physical meeting today, it's not possible. And so we developed this, and I think this will be a trend for the near future. Second pillar. The third pillar is digital intelligence services. That we are giving clearly, you know, the challenge is today missing real-time understanding of your target customers' behaviors, preferences, and opinions. And we developed services that give you clear real-time market insights and consumer behaviors in your industry, in specific markets, and also in comparison to your peers, to your competitors. How they do it? What is the sentiment of the market, of the customers to their services? Are there new services you should develop? That you have a clear basis to make decisions.
Yeah,
that's a key point. And the fourth pillar is our initiative Upskill. Upskill is to define. It's a multi-stakeholder, but if you talk about corporates, to define your workforce of the future. You see, we all know it's a digitization, and we all technologies will impact your business. You can adapt, or you can lose the market. So, and with our skills expander, we are helping companies to define really the skills of today and tomorrow, and to adapt their recruitment strategy, but also to reskill and upskill people in your organization to address the demands of the markets of the future. In a short term, the next 12 to 18 months, but also mid and long term. These are the four pillars. We are addressing this to help companies to address the future and to be successful in the market.
These are, I'm just reviewing them now. They're very comprehensive in terms of the view and the support that the companies are getting. I would imagine that there are, and you had mentioned that there are some case studies and some statistics in terms of the success that the program creates. Do you want to walk through a few of those?
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Allow me, I prepared something here. I told you that we started with the EU Gateway Business Avenues program in 2016, and up to February 2019, before the COVID-19 impact, we had, out of the 56 business missions to Asia, crossing 9 sectors, already, how many we had? 2,700 companies should participate in the program.
That's a lot.
We already had more or less this kind of this number. We had 93% overall satisfaction rate. Rejoin the program. We arranged 42,000 matchmakings.
Holy smokes.
For 2,674 companies, and almost 50% out of that was pre-arranged.
Yeah.
You know, you remember the success factor I told you. And this was because they were prepared, they had the right sales pitch, the right coaching, they appeared, and it was real case, appeared on the platform as really perfect, very good technologies. And so it was more easily to find the right counterpart in Asia who would like to match them. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the key point. Market intelligence 83% believed the participation was useful in getting a better understanding of the market. 56% are engaged in further detailed discussion and expect to grow business in the target market. And 26% over 620 companies concluded sales or signed contracts.
That's a quarter.
I would say it's not so bad.
Yeah. That's fantastic, and that's really good. And so, and is that within like immediately after the trade mission, or is this an ongoing measurement that happens? How is this? Is it immediate or what?
Ongoing measurement.
Ongoing. Fantastic.
Ongoing measurement. We have, we are operating the program, so we have independent surveys. And normally we have all 6 months, all 12 months, but it's accumulating. Yeah, sure.
That's great. So where do you see the program going? I mean, obviously there's more digital opportunity and people are leaning more into sort of the virtual process. But and it's probably impossible for any of us to have a perfect view in what the next 12 to 24 months look like. But even beyond that, what do you see the sort of the next stages of internationalization and helping companies succeed overseas?
I think there will be a shift in having virtual business missions before. But finally, physically meetings are key to sign a contract for me and to really finally build trust and to close the deal. Let's say this.
Yeah.
The preparation for me for the deal will be in the future more virtual. The closing will be physically.
Right.
But I think we will come more and more to platforms.
Yeah.
But at the end, the physical handshake over there, however you will call it, and then we meet physically, will still play for me personally a strong role.
Right. Well, and it's I think the thing, and I'd love your comments on this, is it's one thing to land a customer, but the maintenance and penetration of the customer's business is something that it's very difficult to do long term virtually, right? It's so
exactly. This was also a challenge for us,
right?
And in our PwC fortunately world, we are with the PwC Accelerator cooperating all over the world with our colleagues.
Yeah, sure.
And honestly, without the efforts and the impact of our colleagues' work in Asia to find the right counterpart on the platform as a business partner, as a prospect, we cannot do this out of Luxembourg.
Right, you have an incredible network to support. Yeah.
That's a big advantage we have, and we are using that.
Yeah. No, and obviously you're working with some of the largest, most respected companies in the world, so that's an incredibly valuable network for sure.
Well, that's the same what you are creating with Softline Partners. That's the point. Without the network, imagine I or we would need to search for a partner in Indonesia or in Brazil or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say we agree that it's much more easier if you have a friend there who has the network.
But friends make it a lot more fun as well. So
exactly,
easier, better, more fun. So let's shift gears a little bit, and this has really been fantastic. But I'd love to end on really focusing on entering the European market and what you're seeing now. We've got the EU. The UK is splitting off with Brexit. There's a variety of dynamics going on. But talking about and right now, obviously you're working with a fair amount of Russian companies as well and building relationships there. What's your view on entering Europe? What are some of the things you're seeing in terms of the opportunities, the best practices, those types of things?
This question, what is specific about the European market, or I was asked very often. Yeah. And I always have the same answer.
Yeah, good.
So no, frankly speaking, the circumstances to enter a new market are quite the same around the globe. It also counts for Europe. Of course, you have two differentiators for me personally. That's the culture. And this is the maturity of development in specific sectors. Culture, of course, it's totally different if you are doing business in the Arabic world or if you're doing business in Europe. That's for sure. So, but let's speak about Europe. The huge advantage you have in Europe, you have the 27 member states. And in the context of certification, and I told you at the beginning, if you have to certificate for one member state, then you have to certificate for all member states. But Europe is a very matured and developed market. That means in a lot of sectors, you have a huge competition. And remember the mistakes, preparation, you really need your USP. Because why should they, especially in these times, rely on you coming from the US or somewhere else with some logistic issues? Maybe it depends on the product or service you have. Yeah. And not, especially today, on a company in your local market or just cross the border where the logistic chain is quite good and stable. Huh? This is a key point. So you really need to show why they should prefer you compared to local competitors. Yeah. Key point. And Europe is really challenging you on that. Really. It depends a little bit on the country. Let's speak German, you know, and there are sometimes straight ahead. You really have what I told you, the exhibition or the elevator pitch, and to explain your two-pager sales pitch by telling them the story, huh? Backed by real cases. What we love is your track record and your real customer, your real case success story. This is really a point we love to hear. And if you have some international experience, that's also a very good point. And you know, we have here even in the movie some startups pitching to investors and so on. Team. You have to show a team, and you have to guarantee the delivery story, the after sales stories. And it counts here as most in the world. Don't expect to fly in and to fly out and to have a big deal. Yeah. Don't expect. We are very straight ahead. We are is a very high competitive market with quite challenging and high level products and technology, and you have to compete with that. Yeah. So you have to know the European market, which one you are addressing, the exhibitions you would like to go, and you need to know your customers' behavior. These are key points, and we are straightforward here.
Yeah, and you've now mentioned a couple of times, which I think is great, the idea that that you shouldn't expect that in a 15-minute meeting that you're going to have trust and a transaction. And the one of the things we see in going to a lot of fairs and trade shows and so on is, certainly there are plenty of, at the US shows, plenty of international participants, and those that are, whether they're exhibiting or attending, but everybody's looking for customers. But probably in at least 50% of the situations, we'll see that, whether they've come from Europe or Asia or South America or wherever, their card is still has their home country address, as opposed to having a U.S. address. In this case, they're looking for U.S. customers. But it's and it seems like such a simple and benign thing. How important is that to the European buyer and today for $25, at least here, you can have a U.S. address and probably even somebody to answer the phone, $25 a month in terms of like a co-working shared office space, and no space, but at least to be able to say you have an address in New York or an address in Florida or wherever. How important is that in Europe?
It helps,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
of course. But I would say it's not necessary. If you can convince with your product and the quality of your product, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Huh? You are coming from the US.
Yeah.
Huh? You know, doing business in Europe, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you are coming from somewhere else, huh? Doing business in Europe, it might be better to have a European address or subsidiary to sell. Huh?
Right.
Even we have companies willing to do business in Asia, not coming from Europe, but having an address in Europe and hopefully a certification in Europe, then they sell easier via Europe in Asia than from their home market. You know, made in Europe or made in Germany or made in wherever, it still rings the bell, huh?
Right.
So for quality. But
How,
it's not really necessary to have.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always an advantage.
Yeah.
But if you really have a very good product, meeting all the points, the problem, and you have the solution, honestly, they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would imagine that one thing that makes it easier not to have an address as well is if you have some reference European clients.
Of course, definitively. No,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Then you don't care about the address. But you know, and one of the other things we see, and maybe you see it in Europe as well, is you know, whether it's a European or Asian or South American company coming in, is we'll see reference customers, and they're only reference customers from their home market, and nothing in the US, and they're not, you know, in some cases they're not recognizable names, or they'll have a company that has either a US based company, but they're only doing business with the Asian or European subsidiary or counterpart. And so those types of things get found out fairly quickly. But do you see a similar thing in Europe as well?
Yeah, sure. What I recommend companies is definitively, if you talk about a two-pager, put on the first page of the two-pager all the company logos, just the logos of your iconic clients on the bottom right side. Put them all in. As much as you have as iconic clients. Because if they see, wow, they are doing business with, wow, you know, they do not read the stuff. They just, it's visualization. They just see the logos as clients. This is a key point. And if there's nothing,
which makes you, you know, certainly a practice. And one of the challenges we see in folks entering is quite often they'll aim at the largest companies as their first targets, as opposed to getting some what we would call base hits, some early successes, and both operationally important to start getting some throughput and some successes, but also to actually even just learn how to make sales in the new market, whatever market that is. It's great to get those reference clients. The challenge is they probably take a lot longer than getting some of the small and mid-market. But what advice would you have for companies coming into Europe in that respect? You know, in terms of, should they be aiming at the sort of marquee client or at maybe more intermediate type clients, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
No, it really depends who your potential clients are. Huh? But in this context, maybe one key point, what I often see, that companies would like to sell via the price of the products. Huh? We can produce much cheaper. That's the wrong approach for me. Huh? Okay, let's go for two examples. You do not have a USP compared to the competition in your target market. Okay, then it's not for me USP, but then it could be that with a much lower price, you can enter the market. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But that's not for me the USP.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, yeah, but I'm better and can offer with a lower price. This makes for me, from an economic point of view, no sense. If I'm better, why should I offer with lower price? At minimum, the same price or even a little bit higher,
Right.
because I'm better. But then I have to be better.
Mm-hmm.
So pricing is for me not the USP, honestly. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The product, the quality, the service and the product, that's a USP. And then would you sell with the price or would you sell with your USP?
Yeah, the problem that we've learned in selling on price, and we see this happen periodically with people on market entry, is that you will forever be defending on price. So once price is the most important variable in a transaction, the only way you can retain customers is to continue to essentially drive the price to zero, and that's probably not a very good business
Or paying
model.
them some money, you mean?
in the end, it's like gasoline or oil is now in negative numbers,
Negative
right?
in you, yeah, got it. Yeah, oh, wow.
That doesn't seem like a good idea. So yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I think there are obviously different models, right? There's cost-based pricing and value-based pricing are the most common, and certainly understanding the value to the customer is the most important part in setting. It's much more opportunistic and much more sustainable, because then you're focused on actually creating something that is somehow changing how people do business and their level of success or happiness or whatever your product or service brings to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, focusing on value is seems like a much
Exactly.
smarter.
Not on the price. Not on the price.
For sure.
And I hear this so often, and that's not the approach.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. No, there's an opportunity there for sure. But
Yeah.
well, is there anything else that we should make sure that people know, or that any insights, any additional insights that you'd like to share?
Honestly, the recommendation I really can give everybody who wants to do business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do your homework,
Mm-hmm.
and I repeat, prepare, prepare, prepare,
Yeah.
and go step by step. Have first your local footprint, have a track record in your local market, and then if you are ready, to go abroad, to go international, analyze your target market, analyze your potential or your prospects as clients or business partners, prepare your sales pitch, define your communication and negotiation strategy. And of course, also in the US, there are export supporting schemes. They are often offering services free of charge or with some added value and so on. As in Europe, they are providing a lot of information. Search, even it takes time, and there are some a little bit fragmented maybe, and there's an overlap, but take some time and to check out in your market what are these export supporting agencies are offering. Last year, we made an international benchmark study on best practices in export supporting schemes in North America, in Europe, and in Asia. And there are really some offerings from export agencies. Don't ask me which ones. They are really amazing. They are offering incredible support. That's really good. So the government is very often doing something for the SMEs, but they are obviously not always present in the media and so on. So for a CEO, be proactive. Search and prepare. And then this is a good foundation to go the next step and to be successful. If you are passive, no chance.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No chance. Even if they spend a lot of money from a government perspective, they cannot replace you as a CEO to do your homework and to do your business and to prepare your sales pitch, because they don't know your business. You should know your business, and you should prepare it, and you should be proactive, and you should be successful.
Exactly.
That's my statement, my final statement, and what I can recommend.
No, what you've shared has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time and giving us insights both to what you've seen work very well in market entry, and also certainly sharing about your program. And it sounds like you guys are doing great work to help companies.
Yeah, and my last recommendation to our audience: keep cool and pitch off. That's the key point, and you will be successful.
That is beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Peter. It's been great. I'm so sorry to have interrupted your afternoon and a nice, wonderful glass of wine you have next to you. But
yeah, I have here. As you asked me.
It's completely my fault. You know, it's something that doesn't go through my head in the morning here is, oh, I need to have a beer.
No, I'm shortly before dinner now.
Yeah,
No.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for having me here, and I really appreciate our chat, and I trust that our audience will be successful in going abroad and going international.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, thank you. I'm going to hit stop now, but thank you so much for spending the time with us.
See you all. Bye bye.